name is Hido, and welcome to the Pantheon, where we're in Modern Horizons 2 world. And it's a name I'm never ever going to be able to pronounce. It's Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar. Or something like that. I honestly don't know. It's a legendary creature, human wizard. As long as you've discarded a card this turn, you may pay a black or a red to cast this spell. As you might notice, it doesn't have a casting cost. When Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named the Underworld Cookbook. Reel it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Sacrifice 2 foods. Target creature deals 6 damage to itself. Well, there's all sorts of different things going on here, but let's start with the Underworld Cookbook. It's a 1-mana artifact that you can tap to discard a card to create a food token. You can pay 4 and tap it and sacrifice it. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty decent, you know, I'll be honest. Quite a good sort of discard outlet. And this card really cares about discard, so we're going to build that into the theme. And it also cares about food, so delicious, yummy food. And, well, despite having a ridiculous name, it's the first creature that doesn't have a casting cost, I believe. Or at least one that can be a commander anyway. And it's really quite cool. I like the flavour of it, which is very fitting considering this is a food-based commander. If you like these sorts of videos, please do subscribe. I'm going to be making one for every single legendary creature ever printed, ever, forever. So come join me and we'll, you know, have a great time together. Brings me on to number 5. And this card, well, it's all about food. So Pack Rat is a great representation of it, or at least this specific art. Look at those rats. They're eating little pumpkin things. They just look so cute. And it just looks delicious, doesn't it, really? Pack Rat is a 2-mana star. It's Parentos that each equals the number of rats you control. Can pay 3 to discard a card, which fits in with the sort of madness theme that we're going to go for. Creates a token that's a copy of Pack Rat. So this card, you need to play it with this art if you're going to be playing it. It gets out of control really quickly just by discarding a card. Every draw is not dead. And if we have any madness synergies, we can play them with this card. Really nice. I like it very much. But when we're talking about food, why don't you get your Just Dessert? 2 mana for an instant. Just Dessert deals pi damage to target creature. Pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. It's a smidgen more than 3. I think it's like 3.14152, maybe? Something like that. So this is a nice removal spell, and yes, it's silver bordered, but for flavour reasons, your friends should allow you to play this. I mean, it's exactly the same as any sort of Bolt variant, except it's themed around pie. Then we've got Foot Bottom Feast. 3 mana for an instant. Put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library. Draw a card. And the artwork is wonderful. Look at those disgusting goblin-based meals, especially the skull filled with a light stew. It looks like a bone used for the spoon. Absolutely disgusting, but this is quite a cool card for the deck. As we're going to be discarding some creatures, maybe we're going to be cycling them. You can put them all back on top and just redraw through your deck and get a couple more triggers from discards. Then there's Master of the Feast. 3 mana for a 5/5 with flying and he's a demon. Look at that big chicken leg down at the bottom there. He's just holding it up. And this guy, he eats, maybe professionally, if not, is an enthusiastic amateur. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent draws a card. And it's a 3 mana 5/5 flyer. So yes, we're going to be giving our opponents value, but we've got a big massive flyer. Pretty good. Then we've got Witch's Oven for, this is a more serious food sort of centers cards. 1 mana for an artifact. Tap, sacrifice a creature. Create a food token. If sacrifice creature was toughness 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens. So that's wonderful for our opponents. Commander's ability, sacrificing food. We can just use that over and over again. Yes, the Underworld Cookbook does create foods, but here's another great way that we can make them. Oh, what's going on? Oh. Oh, I broke it. This is all falling to pieces. Taste of Death is a 6-mana sorcery. Each player sacrifices 3 creatures. You create 3 food tokens. Another great way to make all your foods. And then we've got Foreboding Fruit. 3 mana for a sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Adamant. If at least 3 black mana was spent to cast this spell, create a food token. So we want to be drawing cards, and then this is just a great way that we can use them. Then we'll move on to number 4. And in at number 4, we've got Ange Falconwrath, and sort of the madness theme that you can put onto your deck. 3 mana for a vampire with haste. It's a 1/3. And you can discard a card to draw a card. Whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap Ange. So this just allows us to really churn through our deck. And the fact she's got haste, we can use her straight away. And if we've got 1 mana spare, we can just cast our commander straight away. When we're discarding, why don't we discard some good cards? Big Game Hunter is a 3 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated. And its madness cost is a single black. So if we're discarding it, we're going to get a ton of value out of it. Then we've got Archfiend of Spite, which is a 7 mana 6/6 flyer. It's a demon. And whenever a sorcerer opponent controls deals damage to it, that sorcerer's controller loses that much life unless they sacrifice that many permanents. So this is absolutely fantastic. We can discard this in our opponent's attack step. You're attacking us with a big massive creature. Discard it, cast it at instant speed, and really surprise them with it. Then we've got Ange's Ravenger. Big Ange. 3 mana for a 3/3. It attacks each combat if able. When it attacks, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. Excellent way to enable more madness synergies, and we get to churn through our deck. And it's madness for 2 mana. Then we've got Grave Scrabbler, 4 mana for a 2/2 with madness for 2. When it enters the battlefield, if its madness cost was paid, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to its owner's hand. Then Voldenrath Pariah, 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer, sacrifice 3 other creatures to transform it. Its madness cost is triple black, and this is great. It's a nice little board wipe in Abolisher of Bloodlines. Flying, 6/5. When this creature transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. So a good little board wipe, very targeted on a specific person. And we can get this for just 3 black mana. That brings me on to number 3. And at number 3, we've got some wheel effects. We want to keep churning through our deck. The discard synergies never end. Magus of the Wheel, 3 mana for a 3/3. You can pay 2, tap it and sacrifice it. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Absolutely amazing. But here's a couple of other ways that we can use that sort of effect. Ruin Grinder, brand new card here, 6 mana 7/4 with Menace. When it dies, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. So this has 4 toughness, so we could potentially sacrifice 2 foods to make this deal 6 damage to itself, killing it, and then we can wheel everyone's hand. We could do that in instant speed with our commander. Then it's got Mountain Cycling for 2 mana, and when we cycle this card, we are discarding it, which allows us to cast our commander. Then we've got Wheel of Fortune, 3 mana for a sorcery. Each player discards his or her hand and draws 7 cards. Absolutely classic. I don't own one. It's incredibly expensive, sadly. How depressing. Then we've got Wheel of Fate, the sort of budget version. It's a spend 4, which is a long time to wait. It's for 2 mana. But each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. So it does allow our opponents to set up for it. You know, they'll empty their hands just the turn before, and then they're getting maximum value off it. But it's a great way to wheel everything away. And then number 2, I'm going to have to mess around here a bit. It's Dream Salvage, which is a blue or a black, and it's an instant. Now, you can't actually play this in your deck legally, but I see absolutely no problem with this. You can cast this in this deck. You can pay a single black mana, you can get the effect, so why not play it in the deck? Draw cards equal to the number of cards target opponent discarded this turn. So we can go wheeling all the way through our deck, and then we can Dream Salvage someone to draw 7 cards if they've discarded 7. We can get absolutely massive value out of this, and it's just such a cool card. It's an instant, so we can always hold it open. It's blue, so you can pitch it to Force of Will if you were playing a different deck entirely. But it's just so fantastic and works really well in this deck. Which brings me on to Shadow of the Grave. 2 mana for an instant. Return to your hand all cards in your graveyard that were cycled or discarded this turn. So yes, we're taking advantage of our opponent's discarding cards, but we're going to be the main ones discarding cards. So why don't we get a bunch of value from it? This can refill our hand after a wheel, or if we've just cycled a bunch of cards, we can get them all back to our hand. Speaking of cycling, Archfiend of Ifnir is a 5 mana 5/4 flyer. When you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 card out on each creature your opponents control. Cycling for 2 mana. So this can get absolutely tons of value, board wipe all of your opponents, and we're just sat there laughing. Ha 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 ha. A bit like that, but probably more natural. Then there's Bag of Holding, 1 colorless mana. No, 1 generic mana. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Pay 2, tap, draw a card, discard a card. Pretty decent. Pay 4, tap, sacrifice Bag of Holding, return all cards exiled with Bag of Holding to their owner's hand. So again, very similar to Shadow of the Grave, you can get absolutely tons of value by activating that 4 and just really refill your hand and keep churning through your deck. It's turning discard into an advantage. Then we've got Surly Badgersaw, 4 mana for 3/3. Whenever you discard a creature card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure token, which sacrifices for a mana. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So this can just get absolutely massive, get you a bunch of ramp, and kill your entire opponent's board state. Which brings me on to the card that all of these other 2, Bone Miser and Surly Badgersaw, are based on. It's Waste Not. 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add double black. Whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So with this, tons of value. If we're wheeling, we're going to be just getting cards after mana after zombie. But then we're going to be the main ones discarding things. So Bone Miser comes in great for that. 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever you, me, or you, if you're playing the deck, up to you, discard a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever you discard a land card, add double black. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. It's almost like this is based entirely on Waste Not. It's a bit weird, that, isn't it? Which brings me on to my number 1 pick. And in at number 1, we've got Brash Taunter. 5 mana for a 1/1 with Indestructible. Whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent. And you can pay 3 and tap it. It fights another target creature. So this is where the sort of sacrificing food element of the deck really comes in. We want to, yes, we can use that as a removal on our opponent's creatures, feed them to death. But why don't we use it on this little goblin and kill one of our opponents with it? Each time we sacrifice 2 foods, we can deal 6 damage to our opponent, which is really, really awesome. To go along with this, Stuffy Doll, 5 mana for 0/1 with Indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, choose a player. Whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. And you can tap it to deal 1 damage to itself. So again, we can just keep churning out 6 damage a turn. Just pew, 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 pew. Just kill one of our opponents. Then this one is a bit weird. Scythe of the Wretched, 2 mana for a 4 cost equip. And it gives our creature +2/+2. Whenever a creature dealt damage by a quick creature this turn is put into a graveyard, return that card to play under your control. Attach Scythe of the Wretched to that creature. Sorry. So, if this is attached to our commander... No. I got it wrong already. If this is attached to one of our creatures, say with a good enter the battlefield ability, we can use our commander's ability to force the creature with Scythe of the Wretched to deal 6 damage to itself, which means it's killing itself with Scythe of the Wretched, so it'll die and then re-enter, getting us the enter the battlefield effect. That's quite cool, to be honest. So if you have anything that makes 2 foods when it comes in, I don't know if there is, but there might be. You could potentially have an infinite enter the battlefield with this ability, which is just awesome. And Scythe of the Wretched is a great, great card. Then finally, Arc Bond, 3 mana for an instant. Choose target creature. Whenever that creature is dealt damage this turn, it deals that much damage to each other creature and each player. So we target one of our opponent's creatures, force it to deal 6 damage to itself, which radiates everything, 6 damage to absolutely every other creature. Absolutely wonderful. With a Stuffy Doll in the field, well, you can just keep doing it in response to each other and then just churn out massive amounts of damage with Arcbound. Incredible card in the deck. And those are my top 5 cards for insert name here. I'm not going to try again. I think I butchered it the last time, but I gave it my best shot. If you like these videos, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to be making one for every single legendary creature I've ever printed, and I really enjoy doing them. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.